Hello there. I am super excited and super joyed to have you here again. I think that it's a really beautiful thing that not only did you go through the first module, but you are also here in the second module where we're going to, start talking about apathy. If you have not gone through the first module, though, I would really advise that you pause it here. You pause it here, and you go to the first module to see that first. It is very important for you to go through the first module before you come here, so that we all are going to be on the same page. If you are seeing this and you went through the first module, I really do celebrate you. I really celebrate you. I believe that the greatest compass that we can invest in is wisdom, because wisdom is profitable to direct. If we are really interested in having tremendous successes and making outstanding impact in our lifetime, then we must be very dedicated to becoming the best version of ourselves. And this means that we must greatly invest in exposing ourselves to wisdom. And so if you've made it through the first module and you are here again, I want you to know that you are amazing and your dedication to growth is noteworthy. So in this second module, we're going to be talking about apathy, what it is and what it isn't, right? So let us get right into that. So apathy is gotten from the Greek word pathos, and pathos means emotion or passion. So apathy means the absence or the lack of emotions and passion. Now, the American Psychological Association defines apathy as lack of motivation or goal-directed behavior and indifference to one's surroundings. In an article that the Cleveland Clinic last reviewed in March 2023, they defined apathy as lack of spontaneity, lack of emotional expression, lack of interest. And when we're talking about apathy, it's very important to understand that apathy can be a symptom of different neurological and psychological conditions like the Parkinson's disease, vascular dementia. Apathy can also be a symptom of a mental health struggle, right? Apathy is often associated with depression. So for the reason of this course, we're going to be talking about apathy in relation to the healthiness of your mind. So apathy is basically when you are in that state where you cannot feel your emotion, basically. It's like there is a disparity between you and you. Like there's a distance between you and you. So it's like you are trying to hold yourself, but you are not finding yourself. There's just that brain fog that comes with apathy. And when it comes to apathy, the signs of apathy is basically the description of apathy, right? So in this module, we're going to be talking about what apathy is. We've started talking about that already. What apathy is, what apathy is not. We're going to touch on trauma. We're going to touch on trauma and PTSD. We're going to touch on signs that your body is storing trauma. Now, as I was saying about apathy is like it's like being emotionally numb. You're just flat. You're just emotionally flat. You are emotionally numb. Okay, so let me explain what numbness can mean. Some time ago, I think this was in 2019, I fell down. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. I fell, and I remember that those kind of fall that you will fall, and for like the first 15 seconds you cannot shout, you cannot scream, you don't. Do you understand? As I fell, I was with someone. Actually, I was with my friend when I fell. Now I was already, we were not walking at the same pace, because we're not walking at the same pace, right? So she had gone ahead of me, and I was just, coming behind her, and one or two happened, and I fell. As I fell, about 10-15 seconds, I couldn't say a word. After that 15-second, space where it felt like my senses were held, I groaned from within. I did not just shout. I groaned from within, and that was, it was when I groaned that she ran back to me, and a couple of people, came around, and I didn't really like it, right? And I didn't really like the fact that, people came around, but I mean, it was necessary. And I think I did not now know either to cry or not. I didn't know what was really wrong with me, because where I knew was affected when I fell was from my knee downwards, but there was this heaviness I felt around my thigh region. And my friend that was with me came and started to touch my lower leg, and it came to I just noticed that I could not feel as she was touching it, and she was hitting it. Toby, can you feel it? And I said, I can't. And when I knew that I could not feel it, I just started crying. Because the first thing that came to my mind was, your legs are gone. But I'm telling you, that was what came to my mind. I'm like, and that was actually when I started to cry, because I felt like my legs were gone. And then she was touching it. She started to pray. She was palpitating. She was scared. She was sweating. And at that point, I knew, okay, you have to get yourself together, because I didn't want to scare her anymore. I didn't want anybody to be feeling over perplexed because of my matter. And she was touching it, but I couldn't feel it. And so I had to be helped up. I couldn't, it felt like I was moving, but it was head. I didn't know how I was moving. That place had become numb. I could not feel it. And so when I was helped home this day, the first thing I did was to make a call. Now I digress. It is very, very important for you to have people in your life. I talk more about this in the third module. It is very, very important. Now I understand the place of, now they don't have to be a lot. I don't call everybody my friends. I know a number of people, but I don't call everybody my friends. I have a very, very small circle, and I really, really cherish these people in this circle. They mean a lot to me. Even if you are introverted in some kind of way, you must just have that. You must have your kin members. You must have those people that are really your people. There's some statements that when I hear people make them, they are actually signs of disorders. I don't like people. I don't just like having friends. I don't just like, they are not, it's not flex. Do you understand? There are certain statements that when you make, it actually connotes that there is an underlying issue, right? There's an underlying issue because human beings are God's gifts. Do you understand? Human beings are God's gifts to you. We were created from partnership for partnership. We're created from partnership for partnership. So when you get to that point where you start to make certain statements, closed statements actually, oh, people are like this, people are like this, it's actually a sign that there is a distortion, there's a dysfunction, there is an issue that you have to deal with. You are really going to live your life to the fullest. When you hear maybe men make statements like, oh, all women are deceptive, or when you hear women make statements like, oh, all men are scum, these are statements that indicate distortion. They are not, it's not flex. Do you understand? I do not think women are deceptive. I do not think that men are scum. I think that men are really beautiful creatures. I think that they embody such profound capacity for leadership and for influence, right? I do not think that women are deceptive in nature. I think that women woven into women is strength in sustainability and multiplicity. And this is not me saying that I know this is not me saying that everybody is okay. I know that there are some people that are not okay, but I'm saying I would rather saturate my mind with light than ruminate about darkness. It's such a waste of time because it is not something that you can remove. You cannot remove darkness and say, okay, go. You cannot say, no, do you understand? If I come, I bring light. You understand what I'm saying? If people are not okay, it's fine. Do you understand? It's okay. Why should I live my life making generalized statements based on people who are not okay? It's actually a proof that I'm also not okay. Statements like, oh, I do this because all men are egocentric. Egocentrism is not a flex. The last I checked, you were created in the image of God. God is not egocentric. I mean, this person, this God created everything, and then he created people to be like him so that they can have dominion over what he created. Excuse me, that does not look like egocentrism to me. It communicates a security and supremacy. As a woman, I can't do some of these things. They are frontline stuff. I can't do that. The last I checked, woman, the word woman is not a symbol for oblivion, inertness, or subservience. I didn't find it there. As women, we talk a lot. But you're backstabbing people. Last I checked, right? Last I checked, both male and female were created in the image of God, and this is expressed in them in different qualities in accordance to their specific purposes. It is very important that we have a healed perspective, a healed and a valid perspective of the other gender. And this will be greatly impossible if you do not even have a healed perspective of your own self. When you begin to have a clearer sense of identity, there are certain statements you would not make, and there are certain things you will not do. The world does not know you, and so the world cannot define you. And so when you start to have a clearer sense of identity, you will know that it is an insult to your being to tag yourself according to astrological signs. I am Aries, I am Leo. You that you carry, you are hosting an entire system of life. You that God made according to his own kind. God made you like himself. It's Aries season. You that you have eternal life inside of you. Aries season. You even start to hear things like, you have to be careful. Like, because of my zodiac sign, like, when I get angry like this, I'll not be able to control myself. I'll just be saying things. I'll just be, insulting. Please don't cross my boundary. And is the fact that you are. Do you know who you are? Do you have an idea? You see, I don't even describe myself. I don't describe my entire identity with some kind of nouns, right? If I want to describe myself, I'll say, okay, I'm spirit born. Yeah, it sounds like it. Do you understand what I'm saying? There are certain things that cannot just describe my entire identity. Do you understand? I'm a pretty reserved person, right? But I would not describe my entire identity with introverts. I think that, no, I know that describing yourself with zodiac signs or astrological signs, I'm not sure which of them, I think they are called both. I think that's a proof of ignorance. And hear me out, please. Ignorance in this context is not me. I'm not trying, it's not an insult. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's okay to be ignorant, but it is not okay to stay ignorant. There are things I did not know 2 years ago. There are things I did not know last year that I know now. There are things I did not know in January that I know now. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So it is okay to be ignorant, but it's not okay to stay ignorant. It is very important to be healed of wrong paradigms. I think it was about 2 or 3 days ago. I had just come back from this very beautiful walk, and I was just thinking to myself, this particular scripture that just kept, ringing in my mind. And as I just, I remember, checking through it, and I was just really seeing into it again, right? Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Be not conformed to this world, but be inwardly transformed by the Holy Spirit through a reformation of how you think. Through the reformation of how you think. Now, this is going to help you to discern the will of God for your life, which is good and perfect. Now, this is a combination. This I just said, the combination of NKJV, TPT, and NLT. New King James Version, the Passion Translation, New Living Translation. It's like a combination of the three that came up with that. That is in this verse I just quoted. And I was seeing that oftentimes the mistakes that we make are a testament of the unregenerateness of our mind. And an unregenerated mind is unconscious of the astuteness of the mind, and so it disables its carrier from rising above and beyond mundanity. What I mean by this is that an unregenerated mind will keep finding it hard to cross over the scope of commonness. And so when your mind is being transformed, when your mind is being renewed, your entire being starts to get exposed to who it is by original design. You start to get more exposed to your godness. You start to get more exposed to who you are. You are extraordinary, my God. You are kingdom personified. You represent a full-blown kingdom. You embody within you divinity and humanity. You carry on your inside eternal life. Oh, this thing is sweet. And so this is the confidence that I have. This is the confidence that you should have. That even when you find yourself in uncomfortable situations like apathy, like whatever, right? This is the confidence that you should have, that your natural environment, your natural habitat has something installed inside of it. It is called resilience. It is called restoration. Do you understand? So whatever you go through, we rather there is nothing that is created to crumble you. They've not yet created it. Yeah, do you understand? It has not been made, and it will never be made. That's something will crumble you. Do you know who you are? No, it has not. It can crush you. You can feel like you are. You can feel. Yeah, you can feel like you can feel crushed. You can feel crushed. But no, you are too much of a big deal. You are too much of a big deal than for you to just crumble just like that. No. You are not. You're not an animal. You are not a plant. Do you understand? You are. So much went into your creation. So we go through the many things and we come out as victors. Do you get? That's our normal life. Do you understand? It's just I'm enjoying this conversation. So how did we get here? I knew this was going to happen. I knew that I knew it. I apologize for that digression, but I hope you loved it. I think that was very, very important. Back to apathy. People could develop apathy when they are trying to mentally protect themselves after a traumatic event. So after some time, while they are trying to protect themselves from that kind of occurrence, a traumatic occurrence, they might also start to protect themselves from themselves to the point where they no longer know how to feel anymore, because they are trying to it's like an indirect shutting down like you're indirectly shutting down a part of you that can feel stuff, because that traumatic experience or that traumatic occurrence is painful and you don't want to feel it. Do you understand? So after some time, just like you start to shut down that part of you that can feel, our bodies come up with different mechanisms before there's that final realization where you're just sort of far from yourself, and it has become really intense. Over the time, it would have been happening small. Do you understand? Your body would have been giving you signals. Your body will start, your body will start off, showing you signals that, okay, something is unsafe for you, and then you start to avoid those signals. And after sometimes you start to protect yourself from those signals while still being in the scope of those signals. And before you know it, you start to shut down, some part of you starts to shut down mentally, and it starts to impede your productivity. Before you know it, you start to experience very, very intense fatigue. I'm already talking about the signs of apathy. You start to experience very, very intense fatigue, just constantly tired. You just cannot place it. When you sleep, you don't sleep is not sleep is no longer a form of rest for you. Do you understand? You just sleep, and when you wake up, you are still tired, and you most likely cannot even get a good sleep. It's very, very important to understand that apathy is not apathy is not is not voluntary laziness. It's not that I don't just want to do anything. It's not voluntary laziness. I once read in an article also that apathy is not intentional indifference. It's not that, oh, I just want to intentionally, I don't want to be intentionally involved in this stuff. It is not intentional indifference. It is, you are not doing that stuff because you actually don't have the ability to, you actually don't have the capacity to. You're just too weak, you're just too weak to get the work done. You are just so full of trauma that it has now shut down your channels of motivation, your channels of energy. What is trauma? Trauma is an emotional response to a terrible event or a stressful event or a distressing event. A traumatic event is one that causes you or that caused you physical, emotional, mental, psychological, harm or pain. Trauma can be caused by bullying. Trauma can be caused by abuse, physical abuse, psychological abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse. Trauma could be acute, it could be chronic, it could be complex. Acute trauma is from a single dangerous traumatic event, right? The complex trauma is from multiple traumatic events, and the complex trauma actually is what explains what the CPTSD is. The complex PTSD is. The chronic trauma is gotten from a prolonged, a consistent exposure to traumatic event. Examples of this one is child abuse, domestic violence, something that is prolonged. So what is PTSD? PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder. It is a stress disorder that is experienced after a traumatic event. And we have different kinds of PTSD. We have the comorbid PTSD, from the word comorbid. So that means comorbid PTSD is co-occurring disorders as a result of a traumatic event or a series of traumatic events. We have the complex PTSD, which is experienced after a prolonged time of experiencing traumatic event. The acute stress disorder is what is experienced maybe about a month after a traumatic event. Do you understand? We also have the dissociative PTSD. We have the uncomplicated PTSD. I don't want to talk over your heads. So we'll just go straight into signs that your body is storing up trauma, which could be the reason that you're experiencing apathy. So we'll go straight into symptoms of apathy, and I'm also going to link this with signs that your body is storing trauma. So the first thing I'm going to be talking about, which I already mentioned initially, is fatigue, right? Fatigue. When you are experiencing apathy, or a sign that you are probably experiencing apathy, is that you have little or no motivation to do anything, and this is because you are just really stressed. You feel physically stressed even if you've not done anything, but you might not have lifted an arm and you feel tired. You're just stressed, right? So one of the symptoms of apathy, which is also a proof that your body is storing trauma, is very, very intense fatigue. And when I'm talking about fatigue, you feel too stressed to work, you feel too stressed to do anything, you feel too stressed to even take care of yourself. You might find yourself jeopardizing your personal wellness and your self-care routines before you have a mental crash, right? Your body definitely would have been giving you signals, but you most likely avoid them. Oftentimes people start to experience stuff and they start to say, oh, maybe they're adulting, but no. Incuriousness. Apathy is not synonymous to adulting. Another sign of apathy, which could also be a sign that your body is storing trauma, is emotional numbness. You're just emotionally null. You don't just know if you're feeling good or you're not feeling good. You're just in the middle. You're just there. You're just flat. You're just there. You've just really become anhedonic, right? It's not like you don't want to feel pleasure, but you don't just have the capacity to feel the pleasure or not. You just don't have that capacity. It's just not. You don't know how. It seems like you don't know how to. Emotional numbness can also lead to disengagement and dissociations, right? So it is so you are trying to get into that preservation mode, you're trying to protect yourself, and before you know it, you start to disengage. Another symptom of apathy is lack of concentration. Definitely there is just this fogginess, right? That seems to be in your head. It's just everything is just it just seems like you cannot see clearly, and this definitely influences your decision making. You're not able to make decisions well. This is also going to affect your productivity level. Unproductiveness is one of the branches of apathy. Another thing I would say under lack of concentration is that you'd be unable to set goals, talk less of achieving them. You'll not be able to do things that you want to do because you just seem not to have the capacity to get things done, right? So if you are experiencing this or many more things that just seems like anything that just seems like there is and it's consistent, right? And it just seems like there is a disparity. Something is disconnecting you from your core. That is something that you definitely want to look into. Other symptoms of apathy: increased forgetfulness. You are just forgetting things easily. This is a sign that there's a lot of things that is being stored. There's a lot of trauma that is stored in your body. Other symptoms: nervousness, anxiety, heart palpitations, heart racing. Preparation for the next module, it is very important for you to know that your body does give signals. Your body starts to warn you. We want to ensure that you are quite in touch with yourself, so much so that when there's a disconnect, when you start to sense a disconnect, you are able to quickly pause and say, okay, what is going on? What is wrong? For example, when I find myself purposelessly, aimlessly just scrolling through a social media platform, and I'm just scrolling, and I'm not even paying attention to what I am doing, immediately my body gives me that signal, and I just notice that I am doing this thing mindlessly. I pause, I shut down my phone, I just drop my phone somewhere, and then I'm like, what is going on? What am I avoiding? What am I suppressing? Do you understand? When I start to feel like my chest is tightening up, when it starts to look like my heart is racing, I'm having heart palpitations, I pause and I check. I pause. I just try to pause for a while, because your body gives signals. Do not avoid signals. Being apathetic, experiencing apathy is not a sweet thing, right? Recovering from intense apathy is definitely not a walk in the park. So you want to definitely pay attention to you, right? You are experiencing headaches. You're having headache. Just like stress. Maybe it's just stress. You've tried to take water. You've tried to get a good sleep, but even when you wake up, you still feel very tired. You want to check in with yourself. Okay, what am I trying to suppress? What am I covering? What is storing up in my body? What am I hosting in my body that is strange to my body? What is it that I'm engaging in that is draining my energy, that is draining my capacity to feel things? What is it that I'm engaging in? You want to ask yourself this question. You want to really, really ask yourself this question. If you are truly dedicated to making outstanding impact in this world, then you have to really prioritize your personal wellness. You have to make it a culture to check in with yourself, right? When I wake up in the morning, I check, am I okay? Are you fine? Am I feeling tight in my chest? Okay, I check. Yeah. Do you understand? I remember reading a book, and it was explaining how a lot of really serious intense medical conditions are linked to some underlying mental health disorders. Do you understand? So you want to regularly check in with yourself. I check during the day. My heart is just racing from the blues for no reason. I check, I pause. Yeah, I just pause, and I'm just, okay, so what is going on? I am on social media, and I probably see a post that is in relation to something that I had been through or something like that. I pause and I check, okay, how do I feel concerning this? Do I feel pained? I check. Do you understand? I check my response to triggers. I identify my possible triggers, and I check my response to these triggers to see how much I am growing or how much I have grown. So your body gives signals. When you start to see that the things that interest you are no longer interesting to you, you want to check, okay, is it at that season of my life? Is it at that, I talked about my season in the first module. You want to check in with yourself. You want to really sit with yourself and see, is it at that season? Is it that I'm entering into a new season, or is there a dysfunction that is causing this? When you pay attention to yourself, you're going to save yourself of any possible mental health complication or any emotional complication. Just do it regularly. It is very, very important to be self-aware. The more you prioritize your wellness, it'll be easier. Everything is going to be better for it. Your work will be better for it. Your relationships will be better for it. Everything will be better for it. It will also help you to set healthy boundaries. It will be easier for you to identify your triggers. It will be easier for you to also shut the door of certain triggers. Do you understand? It will be easier. It is very important to be self-aware. And if you are already are presently in that stage where you're saying, you know what, Toby, all these things that you mentioned, all these symptoms of apathy, all these signs that your body is storing trauma, I am experiencing them. It has been happening for so number of months or so number of years. In the next module, we are going to be talking about healing. And if you also want to be more self-aware, if you also want to systemize these things, you definitely want to also get into the next module, because all the things I'm going to be sharing about healing are also going to help to sustain your wellness. So I'm going to see you in the next one. I hope that you learned one or two from this one. So yeah, see you in the next one.